Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Golden Ratio podcast. I am Jen, GR Mom, joined as always by GR Dad.
Hi.
How's it going, GR Dad?
Life's a rich tapestry, Jen.
Yeah, it sure is. I can't give an excellent for that one today.
Vink, get your nose out of my pants. She had her head up my pant leg. Vink.
Do you have snacks in your pocket?
Perhaps.
Okay.
I'll check. Vink is checking too.
The cocktail of the week this week. So,
Not me, by the way. Not me.
Oh my God. Oh, you guys.
This is a clown show. This is what we wanted to talk about today.
Oh, my God. So when we were in Maryland, I had seen a TikTok from someone buying Old Bay vodka. And I was like, I must have this.
Must have more vodka.
And I did indeed, on the last day we were there, last full day, go to the Montgomery County liquor store, and I bought 2 bottles of Old Bay vodka, one for each house.
Like you were like on the way to the airport and you made a detour especially for that, and I respect that so much.
Must get it. So
good.
I got it, and I was prepared for it to be extremely bad, and it's extremely good. Like, you can barely, like, if you're looking for the Old Bay, you go like, maybe there's a hint of celery seed, and it's got a sort of generically spicy finish, but not like super much. And it's a very good vodka.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, they could have just dumped visible Old Bay in vodka, right? That would be like what I would have done. The garage band version of this would have been like, take a bunch of vodka and just pour Old Bay in it until the whole thing's orange.
Yeah.
And that would have been gross, but it would have been it would have been like the thing. Like, that's a bro version of doing it. This is more like an homage. It actually has slight flavors of Old Bay.
Very slight,
that don't overwhelm, unlike Old Bay, that don't overwhelm the whatever mix you're doing. It's very nice.
And just in case we have any followers who are not familiar with Old Bay, because it certainly is a Maryland thing.
What are you not from Maryland?
You can get it everywhere, but Old Bay is a seasoning, and it comes in sort of like a rectangular tin, and
it's so iconic. The packaging is great.
Yeah, it's salty. It's got celery seed in it. It's kind of like seasoning salt,
but it's red, salty, peppery mix, and it's mostly caked on blue crabs.
Crabs.
Caked. I mean, I think and it's almost like crust on there on the crabs, which,
if you do it
of course,
right.
You don't lick the crabs. You don't eat the crabs that way. You know, you're eating the meat inside the cake, inside the shell.
Yeah.
But still, it has a whole Old Bay thing with it when you eat Maryland crabs.
Yep. So I had just tasted it, took a little sip out of the bottle, and I was like, wow, this is excellent vodka. Mm-hmm. But the bottle, on the neck of the bottle, there's like a little ring, and it has recipes. So, you can do a Bay tonic, which is just Old Bay vodka and tonic. You can do a Bloody Mary. And when I posted about this on Instagram, that was a bunch of suggestions. And in fact, George's Beverage Company, who is the distiller in Frederick, Maryland, who makes this vodka. George's? Yeah,
not Georgia.
George apostrophe S.
Yep.
George's Beverage Company in Frederick, Maryland distills this vodka, and they also make Old Bay Bloody Mary mix, which I saw at the store, which I'm sure is much more Old Bay forward.
That would totally work in a Bloody Mary, which the whole point is to be like peppery, spicy. Blah.
Yeah.
I'm not against Bloody Marys in any way. I think they should be way forward.
I do not like Bloody Marys, which is why I did not make that.
Nah, they're awesome.
But I don't like tomato juice is the problem.
They're like the original breakfast shake.
All right. Well, anyway, on the neck, they also had a recipe for this week's cocktail of the week, the Bay Crush. So the Bay Crush is equal parts Old Bay vodka and triple sec. So we used Cointreau.
It's BAY, not BAE.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
BAY.
Like
sure. Old Bay.
Yeah.
Bay Crush. 1.5 ounces of Old Bay vodka, 1.5 ounces of triple sec, 2 ounces of lemon juice, and 3 ounces of Sprite. So you shake up everything except the Sprite, put it in a glass, put some Sprite on there. So I made half a cocktail. It's 4 p.m. So I made half a cocktail for us to share.
It's 4 p.m. in Key West, so I had 2.
You did not. It's really good. Like, if I ordered this as a joke, I'd order like 4 more.
It has a very margarita direction to me, for me. Mm-hmm.
Because it's got the citrus, it's got the triple sec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a good way. I thought it was delicious too, and it's not Old Bay forward either. You can faintly taste some Old Bay in the finish, but it certainly isn't.
But only if you're looking for it.
It's not, what would Jen Coleslaw say, a gimmick drink? A
stunt
drink. It's not a stunt drink, and the vodka is not a stunt vodka, so it's actually quality stuff.
Yep. So anyway, there's a little Maryland experiment to round out the time that we spent up there.
And for everyone who's not from Maryland, the Bay in Old Bay and Bay is the Chesapeake Bay. Mm-hmm. It's giant. Mm-hmm. Could have been a meteor crater, but that's a different story.
It's a far different story.
I think it was a meteor crater.
All right. Remember, Inko, do you remember those halcyon days where we're like, yeah, there aren't really any dog updates this week? Like, Hops chomped on a jellyfish, and that's about everything that happened.
Wasn't it amusing when Vank scratched her face a little bit? Yeah, that would have been nice to repeat. But now we have an embarrassment of, I wouldn't say riches, embarrassment of issues.
Everything is bad right now.
Embarrassment of stories.
Should we start with Nacho?
Sure.
Where are you going? Your dad just scooted across the couch.
Cheddar is awfully interested in Vank's hotspot.
I mean, I think they're okay.
Yeah.
Vank seems fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Vank is fine. Vank is always fine. That is the best part about Vank is she's like lives for the day. Carpe Vankum.
So the situation, which you all have heard just now in the background, is that lots of dogs are upset in our house.
That was Remy barking, though.
That was Remy, because Remy is locked in the bedroom. Nacho is in his crate in the office with the door closed, and Cheddar is out with everybody else. Mm-hmm. The configuration continues where only one dog can be out in the house.
One of the brown dogs, or one of the
three problematic dogs.
One of the non-guacamole brown dogs.
Cheddar, Nacho, and Remoulade, only one of them can be out in the main house at a time. Ingo, I think he just knocked your beer over. There, it's pouring onto the couch.
At least drink it. All right.
You want to clean that up? Yeah. All right. The beer has been cleaned up. Yeah. So things are just extremely tense. We were hoping maybe once everybody settled in, they would be less tense, and that did not come true.
No, it's been variable, but there have been very tense times. Frequently.
Yeah, there have not been any fights, but that's because a human has stepped in when the fight sounds start happening and separated dogs who might be fighting.
Yeah, it's not because of these freaking dogs.
So
they have very bad coping skills, Jen.
We have talked to trainers, we have talked to vets, we have talked to people in the rescue group, we have talked to trusted other people who just rescue dogs, and every solution that we have come down to is that we have to find a new house for Nacho.
Yeah, we have not talked to psychics, but we never will.
He's just... It's all very sad right now because, like, you know, Nacho, he goes outside, he plays, he's fine. We're spending, like, extra time with him outside doing stuff. But when he's inside, he has to be in his crate, and he doesn't like it. And you can tell that he's more stressed, which, of course, he is. And that seems to be the only way that this configuration can work. I don't know. I was saying to Ingo, like, there's 3 dogs that are a problem. Like, Cheddar doesn't do anything wrong, but both Remy and Nacho are not okay with each other and not okay with Cheddar.
Cheddar's a bit of a catalyst through no fault of his own.
Yeah. But even if we adopted Cheddar out, and there's not going to be a decision on that for a while, and we'll talk about that later. We have a lot of dog updates to do. Even if we adopted him out, it would not change both the fact that Remy and Nacho have tension that has been consistently escalating, and I haven't even told you this yet, Ingo, but I was talking to the vet today when we brought Hops in, and she's like, you know, I've had dogs that do that. Like, they have one fight, and then it just, they keep having more fights. And she's like, you know, they were too old to adopt out, so I just had to have 2 zones of my house, and they could never be together.
This is the Dr. Faith that we really like and respect, and I pretty basically believe everything she says.
Yeah, that's her.
Frick.
So, it's, you know, it's just not working. And kind of like, even So say like Remy were to die from his cancer, which he is not on the verge of doing at all.
This is how Jen thinks, by the way. It's a very efficient way of looking at the world.
Like you gotta enumerate like the possibilities and problems because
Scientist.
it's how you find like, is there a path forward where this could work? Like that's what you look for. So like, what are all the possible things that could happen? Like if Nacho, if Cheddar, let me just pause here. The difficulty I'm having managing all of these dogs' names all of a sudden is intense. I have to consciously think about everybody's name. I misname everybody now.
There's a lot going on, and it's like a brown whirlwind.
So if the presence of Cheddar were really the main issue here, we would finish fostering Cheddar, adopt him out, and then go, okay, the problem is solved. But that's not it, because even when Cheddar is locked away, gone, even before he came, these problems were escalating with Nacho and Remy.
Yeah. And Cheddar could not behave better. Like he's
so good.
He's not doing anything wrong. This is not a case where like Cheddar's a problem in and of himself, right? He's such a good boy.
He's so good. He's like mellow. He's just hanging out.
He's not humping. He's not doing any of this
And
stuff.
they get upset like just seeing him.
Yeah.
To varying degrees. So it's not like, okay, well, we could just adopt out Cheddar and then that would solve the problem. And so then you go, okay, we still have problems between Nacho and Remy. Remy's not going anywhere anytime soon, but even if he did, the fact is that like when we had Nacho up at camp before all the dogs went up to Maryland, right? He was up in camp for 10 days. He spent a full week up there where we were all down here. Life in this house was a lot better. And it's not that Nacho is a bad dog. He's a very good dog. But, I was talking with Teen from the herd, who is the one who rescued Nacho and sent him to us. And, I was like, we thought we were getting basically a disabled dog, right? Like he was brought in to be euthanized because of his problem.
That's what it sounded like, yeah.
And he is fine. He is a perfectly happy, healthy dog. He doesn't have any problems. He doesn't have any restrictions. He doesn't have any health issues.
Yeah, we've had him he's been examined by many vets, and they've all sort of said he's asymptomatic.
He's in great shape. Like maybe eventually he'll hurt himself, but like that's true of any dog. And he's fine. And so what we have instead of like a young disabled dog, like Voods, right? Voods was not much older than Nacho when we got him.
He was 3.
But he was not a normal dog.
No, he acted like an old man all throughout, which was his charm, yeah.
He was, I miss that guy so much.
Yeah, me too.
But Nacho is like your normal 2-year-old golden. He has a ton of energy. He wants to play all the time.
He has all the physical strength of a 2-year-old golden. He has no handicaps.
He's not disabled. No, he doesn't have any problems. Yeah. Which is a really hard way to be in a small house full of other fragile dogs.
Yeah, he's like the bowling ball and everyone else is bowling pins. And it's not the pin's fault or the ball's fault, but you put them together and it really knocks stuff down.
And so there's kind of no way to create an environment that like lets Nacho live his full happy life. We would have to like suppress Nacho, which is kind of what we're having to do now by having him crated when he's in the house. And it makes him sad, and it makes me sad to see him sad, and there's kind of no alternative to it. And so I reached out to the foster coordinator for the rescue group in DC that we work with. Great. And I explained this problem, and she's like, lots of us have had to do this, where you just get a dog in and then it turns out like they don't work with your setup. And I think most people who rescue lots of dogs, right? Not like you have had a rescue dog, but like you are a dog rescuer, have had this come up before. And so we decided that we're going to find a new place for him, and we're going to do it through Great, the rescue group, because we get full control. So this is what we used to do before the squad, right? So we started the Golden Ratio account when we rescued Maggie and Jasmine. That were our first real foster fails. We had a couple other short-term ones, but before that, I would every 2 weeks there'd be a new dog coming into the house. They'd stay. We'd get him, patched up and adopt him out, and then 2 days later another dog would show up.
And that was the model. We didn't think we'd keep those dogs.
Never. I was like, I will never have 3 dogs.
Right. And a lot of times it was clearly affirmed because the vibe was off, right? They were hyper dogs, or they would growl around Hopper, or they would be guarding toys, or be bad, to eat with other dogs. And it would just kind of confirm the fact that, oh yeah, well, they'd be much happier in another house. Yeah.
It was the reason that we kept Maggie and Jasmine is that when they showed up, it was like, oh, they just feel like they have lived here their whole life.
They integrated so well that we didn't notice really that we'd gone from 2 to 4 dogs.
Yeah, that's right. But all the other dogs we could tell. And there was something it was super rewarding to foster all of those dogs, because the way that Great works is that when you're done fostering a dog, you write up a description and you take some pictures, and it gets sent out to the list of people who are looking to adopt. The ones who are interested in the dog will email me and be like, I am interested in this dog that you have for adoption. And then I go to Great, and the people who are like, so for Nacho, for example, what would be the ideal house for him? Where he would be a single dog, because he does hump other dogs sometimes. He does get stressed sometimes if other dogs come up on his stuff, which just doesn't mean he couldn't live with another dog. But if we get to create the perfect life for Nacho, he'd be a solo dog. And it's interesting, a bunch of other people have said that about him. When I was talking to Teen, she's like, yeah, he needs a house where he'd be a single dog. Right? Without me saying anything.
Yeah.
Dr. Faith said the same thing. I bet he'd be way happier as a single dog. So we can do that, right? A single dog with a fenced yard, no little kids. Not that he's not good with little kids. He was great with Michael, the trainer's 2-year-old, but he would totally knock over a 2-year-old.
Yeah. Look, the idea is, if he could live without any limitations, without being crated, without having to be put into a room at certain times, or being told, down, stay, ever, that would be kind of his ideal, right? That would be the best situation for him. He doesn't have to worry about getting fed last or first or any of that. He would be the dog.
He'd be so much more relaxed.
Yeah.
And so if we say, all right, fenced yard, only dog, no little kids, people who are, around a lot of the time, not that he can't be left alone, but he'd be happier if there were people around. So if someone's like, well, I work 8 hours a day and I live in an apartment, but I'd still like him, we can go, there's no judgment on whether or not you could take care of a dog, but you are not the perfect fit for Nacho.
We have the luxury, or Great usually does this too, has the luxury of trying to match the dog with the perfect home for the dog.
And if you foster a dog for Great, you get to pick. Great, the organization, is basically uninvolved except for helping with the paperwork. So every dog I have adopted out through Great, this is what I've done. The people write to me and emailed me and are like, I would like this dog. And then I pick the ones I'm like, okay, these seem like they could be a good fit. I go to the adoption coordinator at Great, and I give me their report from their home visit. And this is a freaking 5-10 page document. I have done home visits for Great before, where it's how many floors are there? Are there breakable, do they keep vases down at tail level? Which doesn't mean you couldn't have a dog, right? That if you adopted Brody, wouldn't matter if you've got fragile stuff at dog level, because he's not going to knock over
But
anything.
It might matter if you have a multi-level house and no elevator.
Exactly, right? So we could, yeah, go ahead.
And it's not moral judgment, right? This is objectively just describing the house and the circumstances, because there might be a perfect dog for you, but it might not be Brody, or it might not be the dog that's visiting.
Right.
That's really the idea, is to get as close to a realistic, objective assessment of the house and the people.
Because, Vink, for example, if you had Vink in the rescue, she could live in an apartment. She doesn't need a fenced yard. She just wants to, lounge on the couch and, watch
TV.
People, she'd be great. And I've adopted dogs to people who live in apartments and don't have fenced yards. So, yeah, it's just objective, right? So you get to see all of that. And it also includes an assessment of how experienced they are with dogs, with dog medical issues, with dog behavioral issues. So we can really wait and pick the absolute ideal situation where it's if Nacho were to have the best environment for his life, what would it look like? And we literally can wait until we find that. once we find that, or a few people who look like that, we get to bring Nacho over to visit. He goes, we hang out. I mean, usually those visits last a couple hours. Really get to like meet the people, take him around the house, see how he vibes with everybody. And then, ultimately pick what's the right place for him.
Yeah. And it's a real, again, it doesn't have to be pressure, right? It's like, if it's not, if the vibe isn't right, if it's not working out, there's no, necessity to force it. That this just like, if it doesn't work, there'll be other dogs. There'll be other people. That it's like, it should be close to perfect.
Yeah, that's right. So that's what we're doing. We have sent his like little description and pictures over to Great. They've done the like intake. And then, I think this weekend they're probably going to send the announcement out to people who are on the adoption list with Great. And the current plan is that Ingo is going to bring Nacho up to Maryland at the beginning of next week. Another road trip.
I'm going to drive.
Drive up to Maryland. I am flying up to Maryland to spend a week up there for work on Wednesday. So we're going to do one of these things where like Ingo flies back down to the Keys. He's going to get off the plane. I'm going to get on the plane and fly it back up to DC.
You plan these things because if I had to plan this, I would be way too stressed. I'd be paralyzed and I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd be like, there's like a 3-hour window and it just seems very stressful.
So it's going to be fine. GR Dog Sitter is coming on Wednesday to hang out with Nacho at the house while GR Dad is flying down and I'm flying back up.
It's always been fine.
And then I will be vetting people before that, and I'll be taking him to, visit and hopefully find his people. And if I don't find that, then I will drive him back home at the end of my week up there, and we'll wait until we have the right situation for him.
Yeah, and it's my take on this is okay if
I want your take.
If I blather a little bit about this. He's a really good dog, and we love him a lot, and that's complicated things and made it weird.
If we didn't like him, it would be so much easier.
Because we so want to keep him because he's so good, and if we had clones, we could do it. We could give him the attention he needs. We could train him the way we know he would need. We could, give him the love and the couch time that he needs.
Clones in another house because he couldn't be with all these dogs.
Yeah, that's right. If we had a bigger giant house or a big estate or something with a gate, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But objectively, if we had, before we met him, put together a list of things that we really need in our adoptees, not the fosters, in our adoptees, it's like older, mellower, special needs, right? Actual special needs, and gets along with everyone, no question, right? Isn't trying to be the alpha, is willing to give up their ball, is willing to give up their food, doesn't complain if you yank a toy out of their mouths.
Yeah, not that Nacho has problems with all of that, but this is just our ideal dog.
Yeah, and I'm just saying Nacho came in and kind of broke the mold.
For sure.
And because he's too rambunctious, he's too young, he's not 100% reliable on any of that because he's just a big puppy. He's got that incredible puppy energy where he's just kind of occasionally and unpredictably his eyes will glaze over and he'll just go nuts like a puppy, right? He'll just like want to run around all the time and have zoomies or look frantically for something to chew on.
Yeah.
And it could be your finger. Like he's not entirely in control of himself, and that creates stress for all these sort of more sedate dogs like Remy, mostly Remy. But also I think Guac is a little stressed around him too because Guac's like,
could we not play
I'm not sure what's going on and why did he just jump on me from the bed, right?
Yeah.
All right, I'll play with him, but it's not ideal, right? It isn't enhancing the balance we have with our dogs. It wasn't a seamless transition. It took a lot of adjusting. I mean, sending him to the trainer was already a step there to see if he could more seamlessly fit in.
I mean, it's part of
but he's
like
just such a puppy.
it's part of the whole thing we've tried, right? I mean, he spent basically 3 weeks in training.
Yeah,
You know?
but he's like the not the opposite, right? Like Voods was perfect. Brody is a perfect.
Booze was perfect
addition
in
to
terms
our
of
squad.
temperament for our house.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of addition to the squad, right? Like they just
Absolutely.
completely fit in. They don't, clash with anyone.
Yeah.
They're happy to, be put out on the porch for 5 minutes or share a food bowl next to someone else, or it's all these little things where Nacho's like pretty good but not perfect. And then the not perfect is really stressful, because if he gets grumpy or crazy, it causes this chain reaction with Remy, frankly, but also like everyone else gets a little on edge.
Yeah, and you can tell that Nacho is stressed trying to like find a place with all these other dogs.
Yeah.
Right? Like he also is just like, I don't quite know what's going on. There's so many dogs here. Like what's my role in
that's
this?
right. Where do I fit? Is this guy can I boss him around? Can I jump on him? Can I not jump on him? Can
And
I
like
take
none
this?
of our other dogs do any of that.
Yeah,
They're just
can I
like,
take
we're all
this
just
toy?
here.
Can I not take this toy? Can I, and everyone else is like, I'll just get a toy out of the bucket.
Yeah. So it's very sad. I was talking to my therapist about this this week. I was like, he's like, are you going to talk about this on the podcast? I was like, yeah. He's like, you can mention that you talked about this in therapy. I was like, Therapist Dave, I talk about you on the podcast like every week, basically.
I think you rocked his world.
He doesn't listen to the podcast normally.
But because of professional ethics or lack of interest, we're not sure.
But I mean, he pointed out some interesting things, because I was saying, we recorded the podcast last Sunday that was just like, everything is really hard right now, and everybody was incredibly supportive except for one person who sent me a really mean DM that was like, you never cared about this dog, you should be ashamed of yourself. To be fair, I did not just block this person. I sent a kind of
talking about a different dog. I don't think she was even talking about.
I was talking about Remy.
Yeah.
It was actually in response to like the previous podcast where I was like, Remy is kind of an asshole and nobody would want him anyway, which I stand by.
Objectively, but with love.
But it was like it was a very mean message. I will add this caveat that like, I was like, she was like, you've never been kind to him. And I first I blocked her or I think her, and then I unblocked, and I was like, what do you think I've done that is not kind to this dog? And she sent me a full apology. Like, I didn't listen enough. I didn't understand. I take it back. Like, so that was very nice. That said, I cried for 2 days after I got that message that was like, you never cared about him. Shame on you. You're not kind to him at all, and he deserves better than you. And I was telling that to Therapist Dave, and he was like, like a lot of your identity is wrapped up in, or is not wrapped up, it is that you are this person that saves dogs, right? Like, this is the thing you do, and now you're in this situation where it's not working.
Can't save every dog all the time.
But it's so hard, and the people I've been talking to over the last week, I was talking to Barb Nelson about this, who adopted Sizzle from us, and I was just like, I feel like we're failing everybody. Like,
I know.
Like, we're trying so hard. We have done everything. I mean, just the amount of training that we have put these dogs into in the last week, and talking to vets about like medications to reduce the anxiety, and like the situation is just that these dogs don't work together, and there is no way to train or medicate or anything, get ourselves out of it. But it's like, I want to be able to take care of all these dogs, and it's not working, and it's not fair to them, but it makes me sure feel like a failure at this thing that I'm supposed to be really good at.
I know. It's interesting. We were much better at this, being objective about this. I don't know if it's better at it. When we were before Schmieg and Jasmine, when we saw ourselves as saving dogs through finding adoptive homes for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that was equally valid, and it was probably great for the dogs. It was great for the dogs.
All those dogs went to such good homes that we adopted out.
But that was our image at the time, right? So that was real.
we helped
that
them.
was that, and then we've moved into this like we're keeping all the dogs.
Well, and I mean the dogs that get sent to us change. Like we never had a special needs dog really, and even Maggie and Jasmine, they were just older, and they fit.
Queso might have been the switch over.
She was like a real senior. And then Riley was kind of an in-between. Like, he had a ton of health problems, but when he came to us, they didn't know that he did, right? He was just a sort of slightly older dog.
Yeah.
And we said, sure. But after going through all of that, Jasmine had cancer. Like, right when we got her, she had cancer. Maggie had to go through this whole thing, and then Riley did. It became very clear to the rescue group that we were cool taking dogs who needed a lot of medical help, and we had the time to do it and the energy and the interest. And so, it's every rescue group needs a few people who specialize in that kind of thing, and that's how we ended up here. And it's great. I mean, it's very
culminated in Boots and Remy.
But St. Patrick and Parmesan and
most
Manchego.
recently, I mean, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's right. We had the Express hospice dogs, yeah.
So, I'm kind of composed now because I've been crying for like two weeks.
But if that's our mission, then Nacho again doesn't fit that mold, right? We thought he did. He was.
I wouldn't have taken him if it was just like here's a healthy 2-year-old.
As special needs. The implication of special needs is nobody else wants to adopt him because he's so complicated.
Yeah.
That's been our working. We think of ourselves or have been thinking ourselves as kind of the adoptees of last resort, which is for Nacho. He doesn't need that. He's got plenty of first resorts. He's got plenty of perfect situations waiting for him if he wants. If we want.
It makes me very sad because I know he's going to be scared and nervous and have an adjustment period, and he gets nervous anyway, right? He's very tentative around new people. If you followed Operation Nacho Run, you saw this where he was kind of scared of every new person who would take him in the car, and in 10 or 15 minutes he's draped across their laps and is fine.
It's good. Stranger danger. I don't want him jumping into white vans.
Yeah, no, he would not.
Come on.
But it makes me sad to think of him feeling abandoned and not knowing what's going on. But we've taken in 40 dogs between the fosters and the rescues who all come in that situation. They come out of where they have lived their whole life or something worse, right? Being dumped on the side of the road into this house, and they don't know what's going on. And in 2 weeks, pretty much every one of those dogs is just fine.
And frankly, there has been a marked difference from those who come from homes where they're loved, like Swizzle, who had a foster home where she was completely loved and treated very well.
Her foster home,
and it was much easier because she was like, well, people are kind of being nice to me. These are just
Brody
different
too.
people.
Brody was foster. We took over Brody's foster.
That's right. He was loved. They were just overwhelmed and
no, his
and
foster just was. We just adopted Brody.
Right. No, that's right. He did.
Yeah, his previous house was rough, but the foster that he was with, he was the only dog there in the foster, and he did great, and he was.
I was thinking of Voodoo. I mixed the two white dogs up because that's where I am these days. But
that's true.
Voodoo was very loved. They were just overwhelmed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So, it's really hard. This has been such a hard decision, but when I think about it now, right now the process is in motion with Great, and it makes me both sad and profoundly relieved, which is a sign that this is the right thing for us to do.
It's the best thing for Nacho.
Absolutely.
He shouldn't have to suffer because we can't fully appreciate his needs or accommodate his needs, which are to be rambunctious and get super much attention.
I think if we had a house of all young healthy dogs, we had you see some people who are breeders, right, and they've got 12 Goldens that live in their house. I think if we had all dogs like Nacho, we'd have to change a lot of things because stuff would get knocked over, but I think it would be fine. I think if everybody was healthy and energetic and wanted to play,
if they were all bouncing off each other, that'd be great. Yeah
I mean, I don't think that's the house I would want to live in, but I think we wouldn't have these problems with the dynamics.
No, if he's the only bowling ball and we have all pins, it just leads to a bunch of knockdown dogs.
That's right. So that is the sad situation, but he's going to find a great place. We have not picked it yet, so if you happen to be someone already approved to adopt it, great. You could reactivate that if you're interested in him. But fenced yard, only dog, no little kids.
And realistically, probably closer to DC than Idaho.
Someone from Iowa actually had emailed the rescue group interested in adopting Cheddar, and no. The answer is no.
It's just too.
We don't get to pick this. This is the policy of the rescue group.
We can't do an Operation Cheddar run.
It doesn't matter. We do not own Cheddar, and we don't get to pick. You have to be approved by GREAT, and you have to be in the vaguely DC metro area. Pennsylvania, Delaware, West Virginia.
Cheddar cheese.
Let's talk about Cheddar.
Let's talk about Cheddar. He's right here. I'm petting his face.
We have learned several things about Cheddar this week. He's had some medical appointments, which we'll talk about. But the more important thing is I was in the kitchen making dinner, and Cheddar was in there with me with the gate closed because we have to keep a gate closed. And Cheddar put a little front feet up on the counter and was looking around.
Surprising ups for the old Cheddar.
Boy has ups. I wouldn't have guessed it.
If he were a toilet paper eater, we'd have to put the toilet paper roll even higher than after Voodoo. Because he's got more ups than Boods did.
So that was a sort of fun little discovery.
He's on the counter.
We took him to get his eyes checked.
He didn't get anything, though.
There was nothing up there.
He was just looking around.
Yeah, I think you could smell the snacks.
I was going to say looking around is euphemistic with him. It's sniffing around.
Yeah, but we did take him to the ophthalmologist. Not surprisingly, he has cataracts. So GR Dad did quite the trip. He brought Cheddar and Remy, who don't get along really. I mean, they're...
You put a big net between the
like,
way back and the back seat because for normal dogs that'll keep them separated.
And it did keep these two dogs separated.
They're normal.
Though they were kind of fine with each other's presence generally.
Yeah, and the car's a weird situation.
So Remy had an oncologist appointment, and Nacho had Cheddar had an ophthalmologist appointment, and there's no specialist in the Keys, so those are both in Miami. So Cheddar's appointment was at 8:30 in the morning, so you left at like 5:30?
I left at 5:30. Yeah, I sure did.
Oh my God. And took Cheddar and then took Remy. We'll talk about Remy next.
So I had both of them in the car, and then I fed them at 8:30 when I got to the ophthalmologist appointment for Cheddar.
So not surprisingly, he has cataracts, which we knew. One of his eyes is not really a candidate for surgery, but the other one potentially is. So that would be great because, as I said to Ingo, the difference between 0 eyes and 1 eye is much bigger than the difference between 1 eye and 2 eyes.
Yes, it's exponential, not binary, whatever that means. I think I'm not making sense mathematically.
But. We all get the point, though.
We all do. You do.
So for him to get potentially this surgery, there's a few steps. One is that they have to do this whole battery of tests to kind of see what his optic nerve looks like and what stuff looks like in the eye. He's going to go do that next Thursday, back up to Miami.
With me?
With you. You're going to do another drive. You're going to drive to Maryland on Monday and Tuesday.
He can't drive himself. He can't even see.
So he's going to get that.
Sorry, I thought that was a great joke.
It's not funny at all.
Come on.
Not even a little bit.
A little bit.
So he's going to do that on Thursday. And then he also has to get a dental cleaning because if they do this surgery, which is a big if, because as we've said before, they're very conservative about it. But one thing that they require is perfect teeth because bacteria from the teeth can get into the eye after the surgery and cause an infection, and then they may actually have to remove the eye for that. It can be really bad and painful. So he needs to get his teeth done.
Yeah, they're very sensitive about germs getting into the eye after the operation, which makes sense. Mm-hmm. And apparently germs can be on your teeth and then get into your eye.
Yep.
From, I don't know, external, internal. I don't know how this works, but that's very... And plus he needs a dental cleaning anyway. Apparently he's got some stuff in there.
His teeth are real dirty. They're not in the worst shape, especially for an old dog, but...
Compared to Queso or, well, Sizzle.
Sizzle. Oh, my God.
Sizzle had, well, the 2 she had left were really clean. Four.
So we did get the quote today, actually, for his dental cleaning. So
The quote is, quote, a ton, unquote.
I mean, you tried real hard there on the fly.
Come on, that was not so bad.
So the rescue has to approve that because it's expensive to do. But so that's the plan. He's going to get a dental. He's going to get the check on his eyes, and then maybe he will get cataract surgery in one eye, and he'll be able to see again.
That'd be great. His vision right now is almost none. I mean, contrast to Remy, who can probably see a little bit out of one eye, out of like the angles. Yeah. Cheddar, not so much. He really is like light and dark, but those are big cataracts. They're not resorbing. They're not getting smaller.
No. And yeah, Remy's cataract started resorbing because we got his blood sugar under control. Yep. These are just old dog cataracts in Cheddar.
We still don't know how old he is. He could be infinite.
Could be infinite. He's like gets really playful, like he's settling in a little bit, and he likes me to kind of gently smack him around the face.
He is very focused. He really likes you. I think that's great.
He could be 10. Like, I don't know that.
Like he could be in bad shape as a 10-year-old, or he could be in good shape as a 13-year-old.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to tell. But if someone were like he's 10, like before I was like, oh, he's so tired and he sleeps all the time and he seems like he's got some dementia, but now that he's settling in, like he actually seems pretty fine.
He's not that different than like Queso was at 14 and 15, right? Where maybe 13 and 14, where she had like bursts of energy and was playful and happy and could roll on her back and stuff. But also 13, slept a lot, right? Yep. And also was kind of did her own thing. He kind of does his own thing. Yeah,
that's right. The good news is that he doesn't love being closed in the room, like my little office suite. But usually he'll like scratch at the door one time and then he's like, okay, I'm fine. Like he's happy to be out here right now, but he doesn't feel like this really strong need to be out in the main space.
He doesn't sit there and bark or is unhappy. No, he sleeps a lot. It's good.
He does, yeah.
He needs to sleep.
He is the kind of energy we want. That said, we don't know if we're going to be able to keep him because Remy still, like just yesterday, Remy was one of them was in the kitchen and one of them was outside the kitchen, and they were close to the baby gate, and Remy tried to bite him through the baby gate.
I know. What's up, Remy?
Though sometimes they're okay and they walk past each other and it's fine.
It's like we were talking about with Nacho. 95% is fine. It's the 5% that you can't plan for and that are really stressful and bad.
So, we have to first, like, once Nacho is adopted out, see how the dynamic is in the house, because obviously there's a lot of tension with the Nacho-Remy situation. Remy may just calm down. We also have other updates on Remy. Could be they get used to each other, but if they don't, then Cheddar will still have to be adopted out. But we can't do that till we're done with all his medical stuff anyway, so we're not deciding. We don't have to make any decisions.
There are a lot of dog updates today. Just remember, everyone, there's a lot of dog updates.
We're like 1/3 through the dog updates.
If you're close to the end of your commute, just go to work and pick it up later because there's more. You're not close to the end.
No.
You can't just stay in the parking lot.
You're not close to the end.
You're not going to finish it in the parking garage.
No.
You'll be late to work.
They do have a little timer on their podcast app that shows them how far.
Who's they?
Podcast apps, and so thus all people with podcast apps can see like, wow, there's an hour left of this podcast.
Well, maybe they're so wrapped that they're not looking at that. They're just listening.
They just need you to tell them.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is real-time information here.
All right. Well, there you go. That's the Cheddar update. I love him.
We don't edit these.
No, we do not. He's a good man. Let's talk about
Cheddar.
Let's talk about Remy. So Remy went to the oncologist.
Yeah.
On your little trip to Miami.
He was fine. He's a good car dog. I do appreciate it. He tries to climb over the front, but then when I elbow him back, he stays back.
That's right.
That qualifies as a good car dog these days.
So we had him in at the regular vet for some blood work and to kind of check in on his anxiety. I guess it was Monday.
Yeah, this is the vet we really like. She has been monitoring his insulin. She's been working with him for a long time.
She calls me at like 7 p.m. on a Saturday with updates because she's checking her email. Like she's
works way too hard.
She's all in on it.
But she's great.
She's great. So she actually called with his blood work results while you were at the oncologist, where they also did more blood work. So the oncology update is his lymph nodes are a little bit bigger. The hope would have been that they hadn't really grown, and so we would grown. we also don't want them groaning, but not growing. And
except for one lymph node that got smaller. Like,
is that
it
true?
was kind of random. Remember, there was like one in his shoulder that got smaller than before. All the other ones are either the same or slightly bigger, but not bad.
So the hope is that they would not be bigger, and then we would wait 2 months before our next visit instead of just one. But because they grew a little bit, we are going in again in a month to get him rechecked. His blood work looked okay in terms of the lymphocytes, which I think is what they look at for the cancer. Like, your dad was in the waiting room. The oncologist came out, like, said those sentences and then left. That was the entirety of the visit.
She, like, had a little presentation for me.
It was like, if we lived down the street, it would be so easy to take him for a recheck at the oncologist. And instead, it's like a 6-hour trip.
Yeah.
But so that was good. But on the full blood work from the regular vet, there were a bunch of wonky values, and I think we've mentioned we've been having a really hard time controlling his blood sugar. Like, it's been very, very high.
Since the diagnosis of lymphoma. Yeah,
and it seems unrelated, pretty much. Every oncologist says that the lymphoma shouldn't really be causing this problem. I've done some Google searches, but I'm going to defer to their veterinary oncology degrees and say, okay. But we increased his insulin. We still were having trouble controlling it. We increased it again this week, and now that seems like maybe it's helping. But that's part of why we brought him in for these tests. And there were a bunch of values that were off, too high or too low on the test.
Yeah, just weird, like not all one direction.
Yeah, and so I was like Googling, and I was like, well, it could be this thing, could be this thing. But I have learned that I certainly do not have a veterinary degree, and so I Googled to like get myself a little prepared if there's like, okay, well, she might say it's this, and then at least I'll have read like the AKC webpage on what that is and sort of know what's going on. But it was none of those things.
That's the American Kennel Club.
Yeah, thank you. She said, a thing that could cause a lot of these values that are weird is if he has Addison's disease, which is not super common, but it's low production from the adrenal glands.
Hormones?
Yes, they don't produce. There's a couple hormones. Cortisol is the most important one, but there's another one that don't get produced enough.
Not prednisone.
No, prednisone is a steroid drug.
Right.
You will not guess the other one. It's a big, long, complicated name that we don't normally talk
being
about.
Quiet now.
You're just going to keep naming like steroids or hormones.
That's all I had was one.
Well, it's not that.
It was that one.
So cortisone production is low and some other hormone. And the results of that are like, it's like a 2-page list of potential symptoms, but it can affect glucose. And so dogs with Addison's, like, they can have weird blood sugar, right? And I don't know if that would mean he doesn't actually have diabetes. He just has Addison's, or maybe he has both of these things. We haven't talked about that yet. But it can also cause, cortisol is a hormone that helps you deal with stressful situations. So if you're really stressed, your body releases more cortisol to help you
manage the stress.
And so if you don't have enough cortisol, did I say cortisone before? That's the stuff you like rub on yourself. Cortisol. If you don't have enough, it doesn't matter. You guys aren't coming to us for dog medical advice.
Go see your vet.
Talk to your vet. If you don't have enough of it, it means that you will respond poorly to stressful situations because you don't have the hormone that brings the stress down.
You'll just go up on stress.
Wouldn't that be great if that were his fucking problem?
Yeah, if he's can't manage his stress because he's biologically unable to manage his stress, and if we fix it, then he can de-stress.
That would be great. So
he can calm himself down instead of like not.
It would be so good. There's a zillion things. Like, dogs can die from this, but it tends to be that they get in sort of like extreme situations. It'll throw off your electrolytes, which were somewhat off on his blood work, and that that can give you heart failure and all sorts of things. So he's not in that situation. But she was like, maybe we want to do a test to see if he has Addison's. And like a first test is that you just look at their cortisol levels, and if it's low, then you would expect it to be low if they have Addison's.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Normally it should be 2.
That's right. Normally it should be 2.
2 something. 2 something.
2.0.
Oh yeah, I don't know what the unit is. I don't know if it's like liters or
2 cortisols.
milligrams or 2 cortisols.
So I was like, yeah, do the test. They could just run it on the blood they already had.
Right. And
So
he should have 2.
he should have 2 or more. And he had 0.6.
That's a lot less.
It's a lot less than 2.
That's closer to 0.
It sure is. So I was like, well, that's fascinating. That it's like
Real
maybe
low.
he actually has this Addison's. That would be really
I
interesting.
know.
So there's now a test that we have to do. I'm going to cheat because she texted me and told me what the name of the test was.
That's not cheating. That's applying your knowledge.
That's right. I'm doing research. We do a thing called an ACTH STIM test, which I looked up, and ACTH stands for something and it doesn't matter. Basically what they do is it's like a 2-hour test. So they bring him in and they measure his cortisol levels, and then they inject him with a synthetic hormone, and then they measure his cortisol levels at the end. And I don't know why or what that tells you, but it is the definitive test for Addison's. So we will know for sure after that test if he has it or not.
I have theories, but that's exactly right. And it's an objective measure. Like it that diagnoses Addison's.
Yeah.
Boom. End of story.
And I guess there's like 2 variations of Addison's, and depending on which one you have, there's like different treatments. But the treatment is essentially they take prednisone, which is a really common steroid, and many of you have probably taken it. I have. You have.
I have.
If you get like a weird...
Our dogs certainly have, but it's complicated for diabetics.
Yeah. But like if his blood sugar is just weird because of the Addison's, then like maybe it's okay.
Manage the Addison's.
She's looking into it. And then he may also need a monthly injection at the vet. But that would like take care of it, which would be pretty awesome.
And then he turns into like perfect dog.
Wouldn't that be great?
Super dog.
That he stopped being a dick because he's like barking all the time and
it's like the
reacting.
chemical equivalent of therapy. Like he can manage his stress chemically instead of through therapy. That'd be good.
Yeah. I mean, cortisol.
Nice work, dude.
It's great if you can make your own, but if not, store-bought is fine.
Yeah, I'll go to the store and buy some. Do they sell it?
I don't know exactly how.
Do I have to like get some black market cortisol? Is it a spray?
No, that's cortisone. You can. We do have that in spray form.
Is that for like allergies? Is that for sunburn?
You get itchy. Yeah.
Is it pink? That's something else again. Never mind.
It's calamine lotion.
Oh yeah.
So anyway, there's like stuff going on with Remy, and
he is a mysterious man.
Yeah, he is. So
also a little bit chompy.
Yeah. He's got problems.
Yeah.
Remy is really like a big part of the problem in the household. But we have committed to.
He has
take
squatter's
care of him.
rights. He's been here longer, and he fits our profile, which is dogs no one else wants.
Yeah, though in the future we would not take a dog like him who really struggles to fit in with the squad.
Yeah, but he was. Oh, there was such a long period of where he was fine, right?
There was a long period where he was not fine, and then it got okay.
With at the end, before Nacho, no offense to Nacho, was fine.
Yeah.
It's just Nacho's presence, not his personality, which has stressed out Remy.
Yeah. So there you go. That's Remy. So there will be more updates next week, probably.
And they used to play like crazy, right? It's just
I have all these
like
pictures of like Nacho sitting on Remy's head.
Development, yeah.
Yeah. But that's the thing with the fighting, right? Like they have one and then they're on edge, and so it's more likely. And that's exactly what we've seen, like this escalation.
And I still trace it back to when Remy had the cone and he had the
that is your
open
theory.
sores and couldn't play with Nacho, and it was a whole weird situation. And now he hasn't recovered.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you do have a before and after there for sure. I don't know if I buy into the causal relationship that you're inferring.
You're a lot smarter than I am.
Wait, who went to Harvard?
Me, but not most recently.
Okay, let's talk.
You went to the University of Chicago. It's so much smarter than Harvard.
I mean, it is. Let's talk about Hopper T. Dog.
Hops.
Poor Hops has had diarrhea for 2 weeks.
Ugh.
And she stopped eating.
She got more picky and stopped eating. Yes.
We'd put her food down and she'd like push it with her nose, and she'd eat like 3 bites of it and then would be like, no.
She would have an egg if offered.
She would eat snacks still, but she wasn't eating her food. and really bad diarrhea. She had it in Maryland, and we were giving her Imodium. PSA, if your dog has diarrhea, you can give them Imodium, just like normal human Imodium works fine. Just give them one pill.
Yeah.
Just like people, works great.
It doesn't treat the condition, but treats the symptoms, which is pretty good and makes the dog feel better.
And sometimes, it can just be like they, ate a rawhide or, ate something out in the woods and it's upsetting them, and like it takes care of the problem.
Dogs eat weird stuff in the dark.
Yes, they do. So that didn't really help. And then when we got back to Florida, she didn't eat at all on the drive for 2 days, which, is certainly related to stress as well.
I was going to say that alone wouldn't have surprised us because she gets very stressed driving.
Plenty of our dogs have had this problem where they decide not to eat or drink or both on the drives. When we got back here to Florida, we were giving her Flagyl or metronidazole, which is like a prescription antibiotic, but it's used to treat diarrhea. That always works great, and she has been on that for a week, and it is not helping at all. She has very bad diarrhea still. There's some blood in there.
Yeah, she like cries to get out because she needs to go out, and then she goes out and she's like, "This is terrible," and we're like, "This is terrible."
Yeah. So we took her to the vet on Monday, I guess, and they did blood work, which looked great. They did X-rays. Nothing looks bad in there. The cancer that she had, like we always worry about the cancer coming back. If it were to come back, it would come back in her lungs. It seems like the only way that synovial sarcoma metastasizes is into lung cancer. And when they did the abdominal X-ray, they kind of made sure the lungs were in there and the lungs look fine. So it doesn't seem like it's that.
Yeah, so they released her Monday saying metronidazole, let's hope it clears up.
Yeah, and then she was still having bloody diarrhea, and so Friday we brought her back to the vet.
Trigger warning, bloody diarrhea.
Yeah, guys, if you're listening to the podcast, like how many times do we have to say it? Do not eat your lunch while you're listening to the podcast if you're squeamish about this stuff.
Please don't.
So we started her on Cerenia, which is an anti-nausea medicine, and she's not really nauseous. Because they had suggested Monday, because she had been vomiting in Maryland, they were like, you could give her Cerenia, that will help with the vomiting. And I was like, well, she hasn't vomited in a few days, so let's see. She was not vomiting, and so I was like, okay, I won't give her the Cerenia. But we started that because it also has some like anti-inflammatory properties. We took her off the carprofen, which is an anti-inflammatory.
We took her back to the vet on Friday.
I said
just that. Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh.
But no, it's good. If you didn't hear it, somebody else didn't. We took her back to the vet Friday.
Not everyone's spacing out like me.
So yeah, started her on Cerenia, took her off the carprofen, which is like it's kind of like Advil, that is a pain management thing for her because of her arthritis, because that can be hard on the GI system, and they thought maybe that was related.
Doctor was thinking like maybe it's ulcerative or something, like her tongue is getting real irritated by something.
Yeah. So we did that. She still is having, so that was yesterday. Yeah. And today she's still having the liquidy diarrhea with some blood in it. But she also was like shaking, like shivering, like she was too cold, which is probably a pain thing. So I called today, and the same vet was working there, and I was like, listen, like, I don't want to overreact, but like, what do you want to do about this? And she's like, it's probably pain. So you have a fentanyl patch still from when she hurt her leg. So bring her in. We'll stick the fentanyl patch on her. So now she's got a fentanyl patch. Hobbs does like that fentanyl. Makes her feel real nice.
The one thing you did in the last few days was start making her a bland diet.
Chicken and rice, baby.
She loves it. Let me just emphasize how much she loves it. She loves it. We could probably we use pill pockets, right? So we wrap pills in pill pockets, and usually the dogs eat them. Hop's real finicky, be even the pill pockets. Yeah. She won't swallow them. She'll chew them and then spit out the pills and eat the pill pocket part. Yeah. We could probably put the bare pills in the rice and chicken and rice mix, and Hops would eat them. Hops loves this stuff. You have opened a whole new world of flavor.
It's good that she's eating. I have gone through a lot of, like, you always end up having to give a dog a bland diet in its life, sometimes a bunch of times. And I have gone through a whole bunch of different ways of making bland diet. And I got to say, the one that I have settled on that is the best and easiest is getting canned chicken. It is in the aisle next to the canned tuna.
Like chicken of the land,
chicken of the land. Yeah, it's just like that. It comes probably in little cans like tuna, but it also comes in bigger cans. And it's just cooked and it's in broth, and they love the broth, and chicken's all cubed up
like
and everything.
Salty chicken. It's not bad at all for humans either.
No, I mean, it's made for human eating.
Oh yeah.
And then I just get minute rice, right, that I can cook in the microwave instead of. I used to make these big pots where I'd like get chicken from the grocery store and cut it up.
Chicken breasts, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Put it in, cut it up, put it in the pot with the rice, and like boil it all. And it's like so much easier to just like microwave that instant rice, and dump in half a can of chicken, and it tastes better. I think
it's got a very good intense flavor for dogs.
Yep. Yeah. So that is, if you end up having to do it, I mean, I think you probably can do it a little bit cheaper if the instant rice is pretty cheap.
But the chicken.
Yeah. You may be able to do, find like cheaper chicken like that. But if, this isn't expensive canned chicken. So if you end up having to do it, I highly recommend canned chicken and instant rice because it's just so much easier than a full prep.
And it lasts forever, unlike, chicken breasts in the fridge.
Yeah, that's right. So hopefully she starts feeling better. The fentanyl is at least going to make her feel a little happier.
It's going to make her feel a little woozy. A little fun.
It does also slow down the GI tract. So.
And our vet thinks increases the appetite.
Yeah, that's great. That's right. She was talking about that. So there you go. That's the Hopper update. She's not doing great, but it doesn't seem like any impending doom.
And to balance the physical discomfort, she cannot wait ever any day to go into the water and look at fish. Like this hasn't impacted her desire to do what she loves, which is stand in the water and look around at fish and crabbies.
But now she can't go in the water because she has the fentanyl patch.
Right now, but now she's probably dreaming of that very intensely because of the fentanyl.
The vet said we're going to give her until Monday, and if she is not any better by Monday, we're going to do something else. She's like, I guess it could be Giardia. Is her diarrhea kind of yellow? And I was like, kind of, it's yellow. And she's like, well, it could be that.
Can we test for this?
She says it normally doesn't show up on a fecal. And Flagyl is an antibiotic that is used for Giardia, but there's some resistant strains that don't respond, and then you add in another antibiotic. So that's what she would do on Monday if Hopper isn't better.
Okay.
So that's the plan.
I'm good with it being taken care seriously. Giardia is a bad thing.
Yeah, it is.
Humans have it.
I have never gotten it. Have you? You get it like drinking out of streams when you're camping.
No, I don't think so.
All right, Vink. Vink has a hot spot on her face. Like right on her face.
I don't know where she gets off just getting a hot spot. That's like getting a tattoo to spite us. Come on, Vink. But she's managing it and she's fine. She's adorable. Vink is my idol still.
Yeah, she's a good dog. Chief Brody also went to the vet on Monday because his bark is broken. And that's what I told them. And everyone was like, so Brody is here because his bark is broken. And I said, yes, it is. I have a video of it.
Now in the chart.
And we caught a little video. And sure enough, he's laying there and he just goes, hoof, hoof,
hoof.
hoof.
I mean,
it's that loud.
There's several layers to this, which is why is he barking in the first place? Because he's not. This is like after he eats.
He's just laying there barking.
And it's when we leave the room. As soon as we come in, he stops.
That's true.
He looks at us.
Yeah.
But if we step out again, he goes,
hoof,
hoof, hoof,
hoof.
And so there's a whole lot of things going on, but he also can't bark.
Yeah. And there's a condition called laryngeal paralysis, which dogs get sometimes. And it means that their larynx gets paralyzed. And it will affect their bark. It will make them breathe kind of like really heavy sounding breaths. Kind of thing. Like that sound effect?
I did. It was very amusing.
But it also is like problematic because they can have trouble swallowing. They can choke on things.
And he's already got like a little bit of a choking issue. Remember, we've had him the whole time. We brought him in the first time, which was like...
Yeah, he does that weird like monster noise. Yeah. That's good. We're making a lot of sound effects on the pod today.
Is it just me?
No, me too. I've made the barks and the weird breathing sound.
Mine are good though.
So anyway, he does not have any symptoms of laryngeal paralysis, or LARPAR is how some people shorten that. LARPAR. It's not my stupid shortening.
LARPAR.
He seems fine, and they said if other stuff does start happening, that one of the treatments they have for laryngeal paralysis is acupuncture, that it's actually quite responsive to that. And our friend down the street, Bahia, she has LARPAR, a kind of mild case of it, but
yeah,
you can tell like in her breathing, like when she's exercising.
And she gets excited. She kind of instead of barks.
Yeah.
And when she runs around here, she goes, she swims off our beach sometimes.
Yep. So I was telling her mom this week that, Dr. Faith, or this is Dr. Stacy, they said they will do acupuncture and that it helps with it. And so she might get some.
Yep.
So good job, CB, for bringing knowledge to our friend.
Otherwise, CB is a solid citizen and is a good boy.
Guac has not had any issues this week.
Guac is a rock.
Thank you, Guagomain.
He has been repaid because now that Taco Bell has nacho fries again, we've been giving Guac tacos again.
Guagomain gets Taco Main.
Yeah, but he's been just great. You can leave him outside. He doesn't run away. He doesn't swim away. He is just solid.
He took a lot of work also because he was not our typical profile, but he really turned into our golden ratio dog, and his like core temperament once he finally settled in is like what we want.
He was overwhelming at first. You were overwhelmed, but I didn't want to necessarily go there, but yes, you were very stressed with this nut job. And we brought him to Michael and got him trained, but now he kind of gets it. Yep. He hangs out. I mean, he will hang out in the water waiting for us to throw a ball for like 15 minutes. He doesn't care. He just sits there.
He'll sit there for like 3 hours.
He just lurks.
Yeah. You look at the seawall and there's just his little eyes peering.
But he doesn't swim away. He doesn't run away. He doesn't chew on shoes. I mean, there's so many things that he could do that he doesn't. He just wants a little avocado sometimes or a little blow high to soothe himself.
So that's dog updates. Holy cow.
Did we do all 7? Wow.
Yeah, we did.
Amazing.
I better count now on my list to make sure.
We've been doing a lot of dog counting. I count them when I feed them. I count them when they're in bed at night.
Yeah.
Because my nightmare is like Vank sitting outside going, where is everybody? guys, where are we? Are we going back out?
Yeah. All right. This podcast is so long that I was like, maybe we should skip ramblings. But like,
do a 2-parter. Make it 2 parts.
We could cut it. We're just going to make it 1 part. No, I can't do that.
Make it 7 parts. 1 for each dog.
Okay. Here's the update. Here's my ramblings.
Yeah. We didn't even do administrative corner, though. You don't have to do ramblings. Maybe this is a no rules.
No.
Come on.
We got a cocktail of the week. Do you have anything for administrative corner?
No. I haven't heard any updates from the plushies. And... we're taking care of the medal issues.
Oh, you know what? I do. Yeah, the medals, this week, I was going to send them all on Monday, and you guys, there's been like a lot of shit going on in the household, which the last hour and a half should have told you.
There's been other stuff besides dogs, too. You've been traveling. We've been traveling. Everyone's been traveling.
There's been a lot going on. So, yeah, the medals, everyone who's emailed about a missing medal, I'm sorry it's a little more delayed, but I'm going to get them all out this weekend. So, it is happening.
She meant tomorrow, metaphorically, not literally.
I know, I literally meant it, and it was just wrong.
I'm just saying.
All right. Thank you for remembering administrative corner.
I love it. I never forget it.
All right. Ramblings.
Okay.
I got one item, which is an update on the fish drama.
Go for it.
The fish fraud.
Fraud
the
fish?
The walleyes had the weights in them at the fishing tournament.
The weighted fish. Yeah, the chunky fish.
After Cleveland fishing cheating scandal, Lake Erie tournaments to utilize metal detection device.
Nice.
And they're going to do polygraphs.
Wow.
All right.
Wait, they're going to put the fish through a metal detector like a little
I'm going to read you the article. Let me read you the article.
Yeah.
Organizers of the Fish Brawl and Walleye Slam also plan to continue to...
That was always the title? Okay.
Also plan to continue to employ a polygraph/VSA test to check winners for honesty and integrity.
What?
Following...
Independently of jamming weights in your fish or not?
Dateline Cleveland. Following the controversy surrounding last month's Cleveland fishing tournament...
Wait, there was no controversy. The guys cheated. This is bad journalism, guys. It's not a controversy.
That resulted in the indictments of 2 men accused of allegedly placing weights and fish fillets inside their catch.
I'm sorry. They opened the stomach and there were other fish fillet stuffed in there, for like frozen fish fillet stuffed in there. This is not like a fish that was like, I gotta make some more weight. I'm gonna swallow some lead weights and bulk up. No, this was a dead fish that got weights shoved in his or her mouth. Poor fish.
So
controversy, my foot.
So after the men were indicted, accused of allegedly placing weights and fish fillets in their catch,
they did it.
A pair of Lake Erie tournaments are responding with new safeguards. Both the Lake Erie Blaster, it's B''Laster.
What?
Blast, I don't know.
What's the apostrophe
right,
doing in
let's
there?
do some side.
The B-Laster?
Hang on, I'm going to look.
The best laster? What the frick? You can't just put apostrophes in things. It leads to many questions.
Okay. There's this logo here. Blaster. Work it like a pro.
Yeah, go on.
Hang on. Blaster.
Still doesn't explain the apostrophe.
I know. I'm wondering if it's like the sponsor.
Is it an accent? Is it an accent?
I don't think there's ever accents on a B,
What
are
cafe?
there?
Well, no. People put umlauts on everything, too. It's fine.
I mean, because that's fun. It's fun to put umlauts on things as an American. All right. Blaster makes lubricants. And wait,
are you glad you went down that hole right now?
I'm not making this up. You ready?
This is live information right now. Live information.
Wait.
Unfiltered.
Stop talking. You're preventing us from getting to the good part.
No.
Blaster products, lubricant, and penetrance. Work it like a pro.
Oh.
That's the title of their webpage.
I think the anticipation
Lubricant
was good.
And penetrance. Work it like a pro. Oh, dear God.
We are in the middle of Fantasy Fest in the Keys, so everything is oversexed and stimulated around here. So this is terrible timing for this. Terrible timing.
Oh, my God. All right.
This is live Googling she's doing, and she's having regrets. I can see your face, and you're having regrets. Remy, regrets.
Okay, here we go. About. Shut up.
Why?
All right. Blaster brand products are born from professional applications where only the strongest survive.
You think it's B-Laster? B-Laster?
It could be.
B-Laster? What the frick?
Bred and born in Cleveland, Ohio, the heart of the Rust Belt. In 1957, William K. Wesley started B-Laster Chemical Company
57.
by opening the original PB Blaster in response to a problem a friend was having with a phosphate mine in Florida. Their mining equipment could not be taken apart for maintenance and repair because of the buildup of corrosion, phosphate, and moisture. Nothing could break through the corrosion until PB Blaster. PB Blaster is still the #1 selling penetrant.
That apostrophe makes no sense then. It's just they bought an apostrophe because it was cheaper than a letter. It should just be Blaster. They want to blast off corrosion.
Hang on, my search bar, some reason, keep going to Wikipedia.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know why it's called that. That's one sad sounding dog. Do you want to handle that? Okay. All right. We have moved Cheddar into the office. We have allowed Remy, who is going a little apoplectic in the bedroom, out into the main space. Nacho is crying in his room. It is also dinner time, so we're going to wrap this up. But we went down a little rabbit hole trying to figure out what the heck Blaster was, and we don't know more except that we know it is a lubricant and penetrant, and they sponsor the Fish Brawl.
Is it B''Raw? No.
No, that would be very funny.
So many missed opportunities. If you're going to have a fake apostrophe in your name, Blaster, you might as well have a fake apostrophe in everything.
Both the Lake Erie Blaster Fall Brawl and the National Fishing Expo's Walleye Slam will utilize devices to detect metal and other foreign objects that may be hiding inside a fish being weighed.
May have been inserted into a fish after their demise.
According to tournament director Jason Fisher, quote, if a fish...
Is his name really Jason Fisher? Get out.
It is with a C.
Oh my God.
If a fish is seized by the Balaster Fall Brawl or Walleye Slam, the length and weight will be held pending further inspection. Pending successfully passing the inspection conducted by Craig Lewis and Jason Fisher, the entered fish length and weight score will be honored by both the Balaster. I assume he went on to say and something else, but that's where the quote ends here.
This is excellent material.
Tournament organizers also plan to continue to employ a polygraph/VSA test to check winners for honesty and integrity prior to claiming their respective prize.
What's the slash? What's VSA?
/VSA.
Verification system analysis.
Let's see. What? Stop searching Wikipedia. Why?
It's not me.
No. I'm the problem here. VSA is voice stress analysis.
Oh, for Pete's sake. Could you get less credible than even the polygraph, which is already not admissible in court because it's little pseudoscience.
Have you ever been polygraphed?
No.
I have. Extensively, because I suck at getting polygraphed.
Because you have had top secret clearances, not because you have been accused of multiple crimes.
No. It was when I was getting my job at the NSA.
Yes,
I got
not
polygraphed.
because, you may or may not have been the multiple serial killer.
I'm not a serial killer.
So that's what
not even a
someone
non-serial killer.
That's what someone would say who can mess with polygraphs.
The fishing competition scandal that emerged from last month's Lake Erie Walleye Trail Tournament received national attention and the attention of investigators after video showed weights in fish fillets allegedly discovered inside the catch of
fish fillets. They were discovered inside.
I know.
I saw the video. They fell out of the fish.
The two were indicted. We talked about that last month.
Yep. And cursed by other contestants appropriately. I think shaming is not a bad thing sometimes.
Oh, so this is a little bit just extra info on that. According to a release from the prosecutor's office, Runyon and Kaminsky, these are the fish cheaters.
Yes, they are. I will never forget those names.
The fifth-degree felonies are punishable by 12 months in prison and up to $2,500 in fine, while misdemeanors in the fourth-degree felonies are punishable by 30 days in jail and $250 in fine. So
interesting.
There you go. Fish update. Taste of the Keys, it's Fantasy Fest. We went down to the Fantasy Fest locals parade, which is basically just hanging out on Duval Street. And I asked Ingo, you don't need to tell me the number, but I want you to think about the number of bare breasts that you have seen in person cumulatively in your whole life and compare that total to the number that you have seen tonight.
In person, I would say I saw more last night. I mean, again, for Fantasy Fest, body paint counts as clothed.
They weren't all body painted, though.
Yeah, some were not. But even the ones that are body painted, I'm counting as unclothed.
Yes, you should.
Realistically, they're still boobs.
They're just blue.
Yeah. Right. Or they're part of a costume, or they are...
There's the Garfield and the boobs were the eyes.
Garfield. There's a whole thing. Anyway, I saw more uncovered, maybe painted, boobs last night than I have in my life. Cumulative.
Yes.
I think that's right.
Yeah.
And people are very fun about it. It was a very weird mix. It was very wholesome considering there were a lot of exposed body parts.
Yes, that's right. I think because there are so many sanctioned and organized sex parties that nobody feels the need they have to do in the street.
Unraucous, which is interesting. Everyone was just walking around being proud of themselves and their costume, which was a very nice vibe.
And there were plenty of full clothing costumes as well.
Yeah, like the Ninja Turtles guys are jumping around and a lot of group costumes.
I'm sorry, did you not watch that Ninja Turtles video again? The guys did have shorts on, but the Ninja Turtle ladies were topless.
Yeah, good. Count them as add them to my totals.
I'm just saying that we were talking about whole covered costumes, and the Ninja Turtles were quite not that.
Well, they had shells on their backs.
A backpack and topless lady does not count as clothed.
It's something. It was interesting. Anyway, it was not gross.
Yes, that's right.
It's a very interestingly wholesome, confident, non-threatening was what I was going for vibe, right? Yep. Yeah, everyone's just we're just naked. It's cool.
I have a highlights video that I'm trying to figure out where the heck to post it. Because, like, I don't know if, like, the Patreon/super followers want to see it.
Yeah.
It might get kicked off of certain platforms because it is NSFW.
Well, it's all painted. It's the fantasy zone, so in there, body paint counts as clothes.
I know.
These are the rules. There's like pages of rules for Fantasy Fest.
Yeah,
and this is one of them, which is no nudities permitted. In the fantasy zone, body paint counts as no nudity. Mm-hmm. It's a very interesting. Whoever drafted these is like a lawyer who's having a good time. Definitionally, this is not nudity.
Yeah. So the big parade is tonight, which we were going to go to, and now it's unclear if we're going to go to it.
Come on.
It's in an hour and 20 minutes, so we got to get going if we're going to go.
It's going to be fine.
Okay. Well,
Key West, they're all going to be milling about.
Give us a quick German word of the week, and then we're going to wrap this business up.
Verwüstung.
What's that mean?
Devastation.
Oh.
But it interestingly means, if you just take the parts, Verwüstung, it means turning into a desert.
Oh, I can see that, though.
But it's like, it's a weird that's the idea of devastation, because it means like to trash a whole house is verwüstet after a tornado. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. It isn't really a desert.
Yeah.
But I could see culturally, I guess, that it's in the desert is the worst thing you can say. Like, that's just a bleak, barren, if your house turns into a desert, that's bad. Oh. But anyway, Verwüstung.
Verwüstung.
Yeah, destruction, devastation, bad things.
All right, well, this podcast is too long for Ingo Corner, so save it for next week.
I'm good with that.
Okay, great.
I've been interjecting all my thoughts and corners already,
That's
as you
good.
know.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for listening. Thank you for all of your positive support. And until next week, Slava Ukraini, and don't bite anyone unless they ask you to.
Yes, even at Fantasy Fest.
Especially there.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Bye.